sukkah? Am I correct?
Yeah, Sukkah out of base.
Okay, olive base. If someone made a sukkah under a tree, and this is tantamount to making it inside his house. If one sukkah on top of another sukkah, it's valid. The upper is valid, the lower invalid. The Yehuda says that the upper has no occupants, the lower is valid. If one spread over it a sheet because of the sun, and under it because of the leaves dropping, or spread a sheet over the four posts of a bed, it's invalid. One may, however, spread it over the crossbar of a two-post bed. If one trained it over a vine or a gourd or ivory and covered it, it is invalid. If there was more valid covering than these, or if he severed them, it is valid. This is the rule. Whatever is susceptible to ritual defilement does not grow out of the soil, but may not be used as covering for the stock. And whatever is not susceptible to ritual defilement does not grow out of the soil, may be served as for covering.
Okay.
All right, good.
Um, hey, Chavile Kash v'Chavile Eitzim. So bundles of straw and bundles of wood. Now the material itself is kosher l'schach, but it's been bundled, tied up. Okay, v'Chavile Zradin, and also bundles of um, brushwood. So these things may not be used for schach in their bound form. Okay, why? Lichora, they should be okay, but because Chazal said that this is a common practice that people would take them up and put them on the roof to dry them out before using them for firewood or something like that. Um, so he might forget himself and put them on top of the sukkah and then suddenly say, hey, you know what? This is actually making good schach. Let's just leave it there. So then it's
Right,
called taseh v'lo min ha'asoy. If you've got if it wasn't put up there with the intention of using it for shade, then it's not valid as shade unless you again pick it up and put it down again. So they said, don't use this, just a straight gezerah, don't use the bundled stuff because somebody might forget themselves and use that and try and use that as chach. But if it was, but as the Mishnah carries on, every time if you release them and put them on the, if you release them and move them across to make the shade, then of course that's kosher because the act of releasing them shows that you want them for shade. And it doesn't matter if they're still bundled because you can use them for walls. Anything you can
right.
use for walls. I mean, you can use a metal sheeting for walls if you really want.
Uh,
So it's not it doesn't have there are no qualifications for what the walls are other than that they have. Oh, goodbye. King, we're just saying that there's no qualification for the walls. Yeah. Okay. So that we move on to Mishnah Vav. The Saktin Benasarim. Now you can use building planks even. Building planks, even though they were cut and intended for permanent structures, nonetheless, a plank is still not makabel tuma, and it still looks like and it still grows from the ground. So it fulfills all of the technical requirements for schach, and therefore it is good to use a schach, says Rabbi Yehuda.
why do
Rabbi
we say that you can use an animal for a wall if he doesn't grow from the ground?
walls
Like,
don't have that requirement.
no, you can use a wall as long as it wood like wooden planks. You could use wooden
You use
planks, right?
wooden planks as schach we're talking about. Schach is where we've got the.
How about they meant with the wall? All right.
No, you cannot use an animal as schach.
I thought you got not for Scott, no, I just use it as a wall. Right? I was
Yeah.
thinking I use my cats out there.
Yeah, get good luck keeping them still.
You're
Um,
right.
yeah, Rabbi Meir, however, doesn't like the idea of using the planks. Now, why is this? Rabbi Meir, he says he says the law of love. Wait, let's see what the commentary is saying over here. Um, According to Shmuel in the Gemara, everyone agrees that planks more than four hand breadths, four tefachim wide, render the sukkah invalid, since that looks like a ceiling beam of permanent houses. So if it's more than four tefachim, that's
Yeah.
that's too big. Now we're talking about something permanent. Okay. On the other hand, planks less than three hand breadths wide are acceptable to both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir because that's basically a stick. So the difference is between three tefachim and four tefachim wide. Okay, anything, and that's the area. It's actually a very narrow area of argument. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda says that they don't look like ceiling beams because they don't extend over any significant space. A significant space being four hand breadths. So there's no need for a preventative measure. Rabbi Meir says that no, if lavud couldn't apply to this, lavud being less than three tvachim, then such a space of one such plank is left empty, you don't see it as good as filled. So therefore, Rabbi Meir says that the wood is not so insignificant, and therefore he doesn't like this using of the building planks. So a plank bigger than 3 tvachim he would not be happy with. However, the view is the of Rabbi Yehuda is accepted as halacha. Um, okay, so now nasan aleha neser shehu rachav arba'at tvachim. But what happens if he does put a board that is 4 tvachim wide? Um, it's valid kashera ubilvad shelo yishan tachta, but don't sit underneath it. So why is it valid? Because anything that's invalid for covering the sukkah helps to cover the sukkah. Um, even if using the principle of dofin akuma. So, for example, if it's by the wall, the dofin akuma can go up to four amas, and it's still considered as if it's part of the sukkah, except that you can't be underneath it. Now, what's the
Uh-huh.
difference? Why, if you can't sit underneath it, what does it matter that it's called part of the sukkah? It means that you can count that as a wall. So let's say you've got a whole wall of your house, and you've got a projecting balcony above it, right? And then you build the sukkah out from the edge of the balcony, and you've only got two other walls, let's say, coming from the one edge of the house and opposite the balcony, and you're using the wall of the house underneath the balcony as your third wall. Now, you'd say if you didn't have that balcony there, it would be open air and you wouldn't be able to connect them. But since you've got that remaining wall over there, that's still considered that wall is part of the sukkah. That's called the dofin akuma. So you've got a crooked wall, but the space underneath the balcony is not a valid part of the sukkah. And that's what we're saying about this plank over here. That if you do have a plank that is more than 4 tvachim wide, even though both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir reject it as valid schach, nonetheless it's a covering and can be used as part of a dofin akuma. Just don't sleep or eat underneath it for that matter.
Right.
Okay. Tikra, she'ein aleha ma'azeva. So what happens if you have a ceiling so you built on a piece of your house and you made the ceiling out of wooden planks, but you didn't put plaster on it. Okay, which means that theoretically you can pick up the planks and it's not like a permanent it's not a permanent structure fixed in place. Rabbi Yehuda says that this is machlokes Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai omrim mefakpek v'notel achas mi bentayim. So what can you do? Is you can loosen and remove one plank from between each two. So he wants to convert this room into a sukkah. So loosen the planks, loosen all of them. In other words, take out all the nails and leave them just loosely on top, and take out one in between, so that you've got so it's clearly removed part of the ceiling. But hilolomim mefakpek or notel achas mi bentayim. And so you don't have to do both. You just have to do one. Either take out all of the nails and that are holding everything in place, or just remove every second plank and leave the other ones nailed in. And either option would leave you with a valid sukkah and valid schach on top, because the boards are of course made of valid schach material. Rabbi Meir says no, notel achas mi bentayim ve'enu mefakpek. He says there's no option of just undoing the nails. Just take them out. Take out every second. Take out every second plank. And he says it's not even a machlokes Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. He says everyone agrees on this one. Um, you, he says loosening the planks is not enough. Even according to Beis Hillel, you must necessarily remove each alternate plank to nullify the ceiling. Okay, and that way you're making the sukkah, not making it taseh v'lo mina asoy. You've got to do it. It's got to be active, and therefore there's no loosening necessary.
Mm.
Okay, and he's following his principle from the previous Mishnah that planks shouldn't be used as sukkah covering because of their similarity to permanent house roofing.
Right.
Okay, and the halacha follows the view of Beis Hillel as given by Rabbi Yehuda.
Okay.
All right, let's go back to Yoma.
Should be 12 Gimel.
Yes.
He handed it to the one who worked. He handed it to the one who was to lead it, to Azel. Anyone is fit to lead it, but the Hanan Gadola Mustafa Sagul and did not permit Israel to lead it. Yossi said, it once happened, Arsela led it, and it was Israel. They made a ram for it because of the Babylonians who used to pull at his hair and say to him, take and leave, take and leave. Some of the eminent men of Yerushalayim used to accompany him to the first booth. There were 10 booths from Yerushalayim to Precipice. It was 90 reeses and 7.5 reeses to every mill. At each booth, they would say to him, here is the food, here is the drink, and they would accompany him from that booth to the next booth, except that for the last of them, for the last escort could not go with him all the way to the precipice. He would stand from afar and observe his actions. Okay. And we have Shkolem.
Mm-hmm.
And Shkolem should be Aleph Dalet. Said Reb Yehuda, Ben Bukri testified in Yavna that any Kohen who contributes the half shekel has not sinned. And Yochanan ben Zakkai replied to Ben Broka, it is not so. Rather, any Kohen who does not contribute the half shekel has sinned, while the Kohanim interpret the following verse for their own benefit. Every meal offering of a Kohen shall be entirely burnt, may not be eaten. If the Omer offering, the 2 loaves and the pot of bread are showers, how may they be eaten? Though they have said they do not seize collateral from women, slaves, and minors, nevertheless, if they contribute the half shekel, or we accept it from them. However, if a Gentile or Huthian contributed, we do not accept it from them, nor do we accept from them burnt offerings of Zavos, of women after childbirth, no sin offerings and guilt offerings, but we accept vow offerings and gift offerings from them. Okay. One may not be, I messed something out. This is the general rule. Whatever may be vowed or donated, we accept from them. Whatever may not be vowed or donated, we do not accept from them. And so it has been made clear by Ezra, as it is said, it is not for you and it's for us to build a house for a God. The following are obligated to pay Kalbum. Levite, Yisraelim, proselytes, and emancipated slaves, but not Kohanim, women, slaves, or minors. One who contributes for a Kohen, women, slave, or minor is exempt. If one contributed to himself and for his colleague, he is obligated to only 1 kalbum. The mayor says 2 kalbonas. One who gives a seller and takes back a shekel must pay 2 kalbonas. Okay. And on to Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Okay. Zion. I'm sorry, test line. One who takes out a peddler's basket, though it contains many sorts, is liable for all but 1 sin offering. Garden seeds, less than equivalent of a dried fig. The Yehuda ben Basara says 5. Cucumber seeds, 2. Gourd seeds, 2. Egyptian bead seeds, 2. A live kosher locust, any size. A dead one, the size of a dried fig. The bird of a vineyard, whether it's alive or dead, for any size, for they store it for medicinal purposes. Rabbi Yehuda says, also, one who takes out a live non-kosher locust is liable for any size, since they store it for a child to play with. One who is stored a seed to be used for sowing or as a sample of a medicine and took it out on Shabbos is liable for any amount. Other people, however, are not liable except for the prescribed amount. If he changed his mind and brought it in, he is not liable except for the prescribed amount. One who took out foodstuffs and placed them on the threshold, whether he himself subsequently returned and took them out, or whether someone else took them out, he is exempt since he did not perform his work at one time. One who took out a basket which was full of produce and placed it on the inner threshold, even though the greater portion of that produce is outside, he is exempt until he takes out the entire basket. One who takes out either with his right hand or with his left or his bosom or his shoulder is liable for any for such was the method of carrying you.
Oh, wait, no, that's it. Sorry, we're done.
So, okay, all right. And we have
brachas.
Okay, olive base. When one is a Shema read in the morning, when one is able to distinguish between tekelet and white. Rabbi Eliezer says when one can distinguish between kelet and green. If he finishes until sunrise, Rabbi Shua says, for such is the custom of princes to rise in 3 hours. Whoever reads from then onwards is not lost, and one who reads the Torah. And Shammai says, in the evening, anyone must recline and read in the morning and must stand erect, since it says, when you lie down and rise up. But Basil says, everyone may read it as suits him, as it says, and when you walk by the way. So what does it state? When you lie down and you rise up, when the time when people lie down and the time when people are up. Reb Tarfon said, I was once on the road and I reclined to read in conformity with Beit Shammai, and had days of my life because of robbers. They said to him, you deserve a forfeit your life, so you did not act in accordance to the words of Reb Hillel. In the morning, one recites two blessings before and one after it. In the evening, two before it and two after it. One long, one short. Whenever they lay down a long formula, one is not punished to shorten it, and a short formula, one is not punished to lengthen. To recite an end formula, one is forbidden not to recite the end formula, but not to recite an end formula, one is not permitted to recite an end formula.
Okay. So,
That's it.
mhm.
And we go right on to Mila. Hey, Dalit. If a treasurer took consecrated stone or beam, he has not committed Mila. If he gave it to his fellow, he has committed Mila, but his fellow has not committed Mila. If he built it into his house, he has not committed Mila until he dwells underneath it, for one proves his worth of benefit. If a temple treasurer took a consecrated pruta, he has not committed Me'ilah. If he gave it to his fellow, he has committed Me'ilah, but his fellow has not committed Me'ilah. If he gave it to the bathhouse owner, even though he did not bathe, he has committed Me'ilah, for the owner can say to him, the bathhouse is open and enter. His own consumption, the consumption of his fellow, his own benefit, and the benefit of his fellow, his consumption and the benefit of his fellow, his benefit and the consumption of his fellow, all combine one with the other, even over an extended period of time. If one agent carries out his assignment, the household has committed Me'ilah. If the agent does not carry out his assignment, the agent has committed Me'ilah. How so? If the household said to his agent, give meat to the guest, and the agent said gave the liver, or if the householder said give liver, and the agent gave the meat, the agent has committed Me'ilah. If the householder said to his agent, give them each one piece of meat, and the agent said to them, take two pieces each, and they took three pieces each, they have all committed Me'ilah. If the householder said to his agent, bring me money from the alcove, bring me money from the box, and the agent brought it to him, even though the householder says, I only intended for him to bring it from this place, and he brought it from another place, the householder has committed Me'ilah. However, if the householder said to his agent, bring me money from the alcove, and the agent brought it from the box, or the householder said, bring me back from the box, and the agent brought it from the alcove, the agent has committed Me'ilah. Okay.
Okay. And
On to Baba Kama.
Monsieur.
Baba Sia, right? Okay. Uh, if behind the fence or behind the wall he found young birds with their wings tied, or the paths of the fields, he should not touch them. If he found a utensil in a heap of garbage and it is covered, he should not touch it. If it is uncovered, he must take it and announce it. If he found objects in a heap of stones in an old world, they belong to him. If he found objects in a new wall, from the middle toward the outside, they belong to him. From the middle toward the inside, they belong to the owner of the house, and he rented it to others. Even within the house, they belong to him. If they found things in a store, they belong to him. Between the counter and the storekeeper, they belong to the storekeeper. If he found money in front of a money changer, they belong to him. But between the stool and the money changer, they belong to the money changer. If one person is produce from another, and if another sends him produce and he finds money inside it, it belongs to him. If it is tied, he must take it and announce it. This garment, this garment too, is included in all of these. Why was it singled out? To compare it to tell you that just as a garment is distinguishing, it has distinguishing features and has claimant, so too anything which has distinguishing features which has claimant must be announced. Okay.
Okay, and we're done.
I remember a quick story. Yes, quick story. So